If you're listening to this, then that means I'm already addicted to Deadlock. The truth is that before all of this started, this was supposed to be a Monster Hunter Stories 3 critique, but I guess that doesn't matter now. My undiagnosed ADHD ass has sunk his claws into this game like an insomniac sinks into their phone at 2 a.m., and now there's no letting go. Whoever is hearing this, I beg of you, you have to stop me. My lack of focus and forethought should not be rewarded. I have no plan, no direction, no discipline, and I need to be stopped. For myself, and for us all. But mostly for myself. Thank you. Deadlock, Valve's new crossbreed between a MOBA and a hero shooter, kind of just snuck up on me out of nowhere. And by snuck up on me out of nowhere, I mean snuck up on me like the date of my next birthday, because I watched people play it before, I knew I would get addicted to it if I ever touched it, and yet I still chose to play it anyways. Even while writing this script, I am almost certainly watching someone else play Deadlock on my other monitor. I stay up all night thinking about Deadlock, which really sucks because I want to fall asleep so I can play more Deadlock. Before I go any further, I just want to clarify that just because I'm saying that I'm addicted to this game does not mean that I'm saying that I'm any good at it. At the time of writing this script, I am only Oracle 1, which despite being the 4th highest division in the game, is still decidedly very not good. If you go to the Deadlock subreddit or god forbid an Internus level streamer and brag that you're Oracle 1, there's a good chance that someone will make fun of you, and considering some of the shit I've seen people do in my games, I can't exactly blame them. My point is that this is not going to be a video about how to become a Deadlock Pro, or 10 quick tricks to get to Return to 6. Dynamo players hate this one simple trick to make your soul balls grow bigger. No, this is more so a video trying to explain why I love Deadlock so much, despite not being that great at it. After all, sticking with something, even if you're bad at it, just proves that you really love it. Yeah, that's what I'll go with. If I were to describe Deadlock to someone who had never touched a video game before, I would say that it's kind of like sieging a castle. You have the outer walls over here known as the Guardians, the inner walls known as Walkers, and then finally the actual castle itself. The ultimate objective of the game is very simple. Break down the enemy defenses and lead your army to kill the king and the queen. Of course, if you played the game before, you know it's not that simple. In the beginning, you kind of suck. You aren't strong enough to break down these walls, and even if you were, there's a whole other team out there that wants to stop you. Which leads to the objective that leads to your objective. Get stronger faster than the other team. To do this, you're gonna need souls, and to get souls, you're gonna need to kill shit. Other players, minions, camps, boxes, souls are everywhere, and the game essentially boils down to taking advantage of your resources better than the enemy can. Of course, if you played the game before, you know it's not that simple either, because the other team is gonna try to break down your walls while you're at it, steal your shit, and outscale you right back. Which leads to the objective that leads to the objective that leads to your objective. Get map control. Push those waves and break those walls. Make the other team so concerned with defending themselves so you have an easier time stealing their shit. Of course, if you played the game before, you know it's not that simple either, because none of that really means much if you suck at actually fighting. So get better at aiming, learn to use your abilities smarter, practice movement in a sandbox for hours on end only to not use any of it in a real game. Did I also mention that there is a parry mechanic and a straight up fighting game style mix-up integrated into the melee system? Oh yeah, don't forget to buy the correct items to get the most out of your character and counter the other team. Here's a short list of all of them. Oh, and speaking of characters, there are 38 of them out right now, all of which have their own unique abilities, so you're going to need to learn what they do so you can play around them. Oh yeah, also knowing the map is pretty important, so get to memorizing where the air vents are and maybe do some urn routes while you're at it. Oh yeah, what's the urn? Well, you see... Okay. Obviously, I made a bit of a mess here. This is the simple version, by the way. Deadlock is insanely complicated. Valve really took the framework of a traditional MOBA, added the mechanical and communication depth of a hero shooter, and then sprinkled in some Doom Eternal / Mario 64-ass movement and kissed their players good luck. I'd watched dozens of hours of other people playing the game before jumping in myself, and when I did, I still didn't know about even half of the information in this game. Even after playing the game, I still don't know what half of these items do. It's important to note that Deadlock is technically a closed alpha at this point, so this isn't really the game's fault, but this is probably going to be the game's biggest barrier of entry for most people. The game is incredibly daunting to learn, and the in-game tutorials don't prepare you for 90% of it. Unless you want everyone on your team to build Slur Slinger, your best bet for getting into the game is probably to watch a bunch of YouTube guides first, and then jump into some street brawl or bot matches to try and grasp the basics. That'll only get you so far though. Eventually you'll have to jump into a real game with real people and just hope and pray that all of that prep work actually meant something. You will get ganked, you will mess up your movement, you will build left to right and then wonder why you can't do anything about the flying heroes. Not me though. Didn't happen to me. However, I assure you that once you get past that initial barrier of entry, Deadlock is one of the most satisfying games to play and get better at. My rule of thumb for most games is that the more the game can make you feel like you suck, the better it feels when you finally get it right. I think that that's naturally the draw of a multiplayer game with an incredibly high skill ceiling. The addiction of improvement. Ironically, the thing that I said was one of the game's biggest flaws ends up being one of the reasons why I like it so much. There's always something to learn. There's always something to get better at. The skill ceiling is enormous. My two favorite aspects to dive into specifically are the movement and the itemization. For movement, I think that showing you the other games I've been interested in competitively should be enough to explain why I think moving in this game is so cool. Esoteric movement tricks are like catnip for me. That practicing movement in the sandbox for hours a bit wasn't a joke, it's something I actually do just for the fun of it. If they added like a Tony Hawk trick counter at the bottom, then I would almost be okay with just doing this and never touching the regular game ever again. The itemization, however, is what I think makes Deadlock truly unique. At first, I did pretty much what everyone does when they start playing Deadlock. I copied a build from the in-game browser and then just built left to right. And yeah, duh, of course I did. Gamers can't read. Eventually though, as you play more, you start to get a feel for the system, and it makes every match feel really unique. For example, I play a lot of Ivy, who is typically best played as a support character, with a lot of CC and healing items. Eventually though, I started to realize that if there was already a hard support character on my team like Rem or Paige, then that extra support wasn't really needed. So if that happened, I started to lean more into Gun or Spirit Ivy. I always bought some core items like Healing Nova, Heal Bane, and Bullet Shredder, but in general, I leaned away from support items like Slowing Hex, Healing Temple, or Curse Relic, and more towards items like Boundless Spirit, Toxic Bullets, or Crippling Headshot. Another thing I noticed is that in the lower ranks, a lot of people suck at securing kills. Motherfuckers really will see an enemy do one wall jump and be like, nah, he's gone. There's nothing we can do with it. Just give up. Stop chasing. So even if there were no flying heroes on the other team, I started specifically buying Knockdown when I saw that my team sucked at chasing people down. The order you buy your items also changes a bit from game to game as well. Usually Ivy wants to hit her gun spike right away and then slowly switch over to Spirit as the game goes on. That means in the beginning of the game she should be buying items like Headshot Booster, Extended Round, Monster Rounds, or Headhunter. However, if your lane is really rough, you might want to instead opt for Healing Right first so you can stick into the lane and not fall behind. And yeah, it just keeps on going and going. Notice a lot of Spirit heroes on the other team? Spirit Resilience makes you surprisingly tanky. Get caught by Lash Ult a lot? I'm going to buy a counterspell and then immediately forget to use it. You're the only one running there, well, I guess I should buy Stamina Mastery then so I can make it much faster. A lot of gun heroes, maybe Suppressor would be better than Mystic Slow. It's so dynamic. Don't get me wrong, you will still always stick to some core items for every game, but finding just the right balance between building for that and buying for the environment of the match is incredibly satisfying to get right. Of course, not every game is going to be in your control. Sometimes you'll do everything right and still end up losing, and sometimes you'll play like absolute shit and still get carried by your team anyways. That's just the nature of every team-based game, unfortunately. I would like to say that in the end, it's all about the journey. That in the grand scheme of things, my rank in an online video game is really meaningless, so I don't really care if I win or lose. But that would be a fucking lie. I do care. I care a lot. Maybe this is because I have a small penis, but I really like seeing this number go up. I like climbing the ranks. Because even though not every match is in my control, climbing the ranks is a sure sign that I made every match that was count. And true, this is the same for every PvP game with a ranked mode, but when paired with how punishing Deadlock is, it means that when you mattered, you really mattered. When it's late in the game and you know that the next teamfight can decide it all, that's when Deadlock is at its best. The air is denser than a black hole. You can practically taste the static in the atmosphere as both teams feel each other out, waiting for just one mistake to take advantage of. No one, and I mean no one, wants to be caught out and lose their team the game. God fucking damn it, dude. The last thing I want to talk about in this video are comebacks. Because of how the economy system in this game works, Deadlock is an inherently snowbally kind of game. If the enemy gets an early soul lead, then they're more likely to win the next teamfight and get objectives. If they win the next teamfight and get objectives, their soul lead will get even bigger, which means that they're more likely to win the next teamfight and get objectives, which means that their soul lead will get bigger, repeat until they become unstoppable. With that being said though, you would be surprised with how often a comeback can happen. I lose the laning phase of this game a lot. Like, a lot. And yet, even then, it never feels like the game gets decided in the first 15 minutes. Maybe this is just because of where I am rank-wise, but a comeback from even a 20k deficit always feels completely possible, and even 30k isn't out of the ballpark completely. And when you do come back from something like that, it feels amazing, specifically because the game was supposed to snowball against you. You weren't supposed to win. Every statistic, every single angle, every single piece of evidence said that you wouldn't, and yet you still did it anyways. There's no better feeling than overcoming all of the odds. Of course, like everything in life, the reality is obviously not that exciting, because all of the odds weren't against you. These numbers are a lie, and nothing is even real. You're in a coma right now, please wake up, Brian. The truth is that Deadlock actually has a boatload of mechanics and aspects to ensure that these sort of comebacks can happen. The first one being its characters. You see, not every character is created equally, and I'm not talking about how some characters feel like the devs' favorites. I'm talking about power curves. Some characters will start off broken and then fall off incredibly quickly past the 20-minute mark, and other characters start off dirt poor only to become gods as the game goes later and later. This means that even if those big numbers at the top say that you're behind, if your team comp skills much better than the other teams, then the actual power level between you and them might be more even than you think. The second comeback mechanic is a personal favorite of mine. It's called Pity. If you're behind, the game will actually spit on you and then flat out give you bonus souls from pretty much every single resource in the game. I know that whole thing sounds completely backwards. Usually you're supposed to pay them for that, but I think that Deadlock handles these mechanics really well. Go too far in one direction and suddenly you're playing Mario Kart, where leads don't matter and you should only try at the very end. Go too far the other way though, and people are giving up within the first 5 minutes of a 40-minute game. Well, okay, yeah, that second thing is going to happen anyways, but my point is that I think that they're mostly wrong. Deadlock's comeback mechanics are positioned in such a way where leads still clearly matter, but comebacks almost always feel completely possible. It's a really nice balance. The only difference here is that with these comeback mechanics in place, your opponents can't sit on a lead. If they decide to all dick around on their side of the map and only play defensively, mathematically you will catch up. They have to actively use their advantage in order to keep it, which is way more preferable than the alternative where the team with the lead just turtles up and waits for a mistake. I know there's going to be a lot of disagreement with what I just said in the past 5 minutes, or even for everything in this entire video. There will be people who think that games are decided in the first 15 minutes, or people who think that the itemization is really shallow, or people who think that the late game is actually the worst part of the game. To those people, I would like to say that my feelings on the game, like the actual game itself, is a work in progress. Maybe as I get better and better, I'll become jaded with the game and lose any sort of spark of joy that I had from the very beginning. Or maybe I'll fall in love with it even more. We really don't know either way. Still, when I do get better, I want to remember how I saw the game from the very beginning. Not just because I think it's interesting, but also because that's probably how the average person is going to see this game when they start out too. Regardless of how much I stray from that average though, I truly believe that Deadlock is an incredibly unique game. If Valve can fix all of the very real flaws that the game has, while also not ruining any of the positive aspects that I talked about in this video, then I really do think that they have something really special on their hands. It probably still won't be for everyone, but it's really hard to imagine me not loving it. Kobe.